You are watching another edition of Blitz, another short edition of Blitz, talking about the Jets' newest addition to the roster, one Mr. Jarvis Brownlee, traded from the Titans to the Jets. Jets traded a sixth-round pick for Brownlee and a seventh-round pick, so you move down one round for a fifth-round pick of not last year, but 2 years ago. Played quite a bit of snaps, I believe around 900 for the Cardinals in year one, played pretty well. I watched weeks 4, 6, 7, 9, 12, and 18 for the weeks he got some pass deflections and stuff. And then in 2025, he played the first 2 games of the season, and we watched those. Week 3, he was hurt, and he's still hurt now. We will talk at the end of the list of the strengths and weaknesses. I'm going to highlight the main strengths and weaknesses of Brownlee now. All right, I want to read some stats for you before we get into the film of him. He had the 12th most run stops for cornerbacks, with 11 run stops, and this year he's tied for the most in the league with 5. One of his main bugaboos is the penalties, 12 career penalties. He had 3 in week 1 of this season, and one of the first things to notice about him, the first things you hear about him, is just how damn aggressive he is, how good in the run game he is. And listen, the Jets have struggled quite a bit in the run game. We'll talk about the screen game in a little bit as well. Both areas the Jets have struggled with extremely, and those are his biggest strengths. I would say his run game, screen game, his overall physicality, his athleticism. So we're going to watch him right here, number 29. They're running a zone to the weak side right here towards Brownlee's side, and he does a really good job of just attacking the chest of the receiver here, maintaining extension on him, working the hands, and then makes a great tackle in the run game. Again, very, very, very good here. And we'll go through it in the full review too, but I said it on Twitter that he almost gives me, like, in terms of the aggression that he has in the box, it's almost like the prime Jamal Adams Jets types of vibes, just how aggressive he plays. So played a little bit slower here off the jump, and I want to give you a lot of plays in this one. We're gonna do like 8 or 9 plays, a little bit quicker, a little bit more tempoed this time, because I want to give you guys a good kind of bite of what he is. So comes off the ball, again, maintains outside in because he wants to be that force player. He wants to keep them inside, lands the hands inside. Awesome, nice leverage, extension. Again, is aggressive in taking on that block, maintains the extension with the left arm, sees the running back starting to, maybe go inside a little bit or just stay to the inside. He kind of angles off to the inside, but then realizes that the running back's going back outside, works the right hand into the outside shoulder, left hand into the outside shoulder, right hand into the outside shoulder, left hand again, just maintaining that contact. You don't want to take away the contact and let him close ground on you. So he does a very good job with his hands right there. And then the little things that people don't notice that I think is excellent here from him on Mixon is the fact that Mixon right here goes to throw a stiff arm. We talk about it all the time in the full reviews. Defeat the stiff arm. Don't let that land on you. He anticipates it, throws that stiff arm down, makes the tackle. We're going to play it one more time in full speed because this is about as good as you could possibly get in the run game from a corner. Just absolutely fantastic play from Brownlee on that one. And I paused it a little bit too soon. Okay, next play, another play in the run game. We'll highlight 2 of those, a couple in the screen game and a few more type of strengths here. He comes from the left side on a corner blitz. And they're running like a lead outside zone here. And I'm sure this number 46 is supposed to go to the front side linebacker here, but he ends up adjusting to Brownlee because of the corner blitz. And I believe this is actually Jamal Adams right here from 2024. But watch the left side of your screen here. There's not many corners, if any, that can defeat a fullback's block while also making a tackle on the running back. Aggressiveness, obviously comes downhill on that blitz, maintaining that outside in relationship, and will squeeze the run, but he shoots his shot here. I think he's probably supposed to, he wants to force that run inside, but again, if you can make a play, make a play. He sees that fullback going a little bit flat, breaks down, works the hands, flattens out, gets there for the tackle on the running back. Again, rare. You're not going to see a lot of corners, and he's not even the biggest guy in the world. You're talking about 5'10", 194 pounds. So a little stocky, but not a huge player. He's under 200 pounds and he's taking on fullback blocks and making tackles. Very, very impressive in the run game. All right. play it through first, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. He's to the bottom of the screen right here, and this is against him in the screen game. Again, an area where he really excels. And you can ask some questions about this play. You just run a little smoke screen to the receiver, and people will ask, okay, well, why didn't he just shoot a shot on the receiver? And I get it. You could say that. The thing is, just based on timing, the ball should be there about now. So instead of, he doesn't find the ball, which is fine. Again, the ball is high, but what he sees is, okay, a receiver's working out to block me, is aggressive in taking on the block, lowers his weight into him, hands inside, pops up that receiver, fights to then get to the outside on that receiver and throws him to the turf. Watch a little bit of the aggressiveness after there. Don't want to get like any taunting type penalties, but awesome in terms of just being aggressive, taking on that block, and then making the tackle on the receiver there. All right, him versus another screen here. Tell me the Jets don't need this type of play in the screen game right now because they've been getting killed on it this entire season so far. And really for my entire life, it feels like the Jets have been getting killed on screens. Bottom of the screen right here. Let's watch it. I believe one is Downs, if I'm not mistaken. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm not a big Colts guy, but I believe it's Downs. Recognizes the screen, comes off the ball, stays square, looking at the hips of the receiver. He sees him start to break to the inside and matches it because he's in man coverage, gets hands on him, works that near hip. You can see him pushing the hip right here. Eyes to the quarterback, sees the ball coming, gets the hand in there for the pass deflection, and then is pumped up afterwards because he should be. And by the way, in the full review, you'll see it, but they ran a screen to him like 2 or 3 plays before this, and he also blew that one up too. So they went back-to-back screens on this man. It might have been even on first down in the set because this is on third down, and he just wrecked them. So again, something the Jets desperately need in the screen game. All right, an area that he both excels in, and there's a little bit of volatility with him in the press game, and we'll talk about it in the weaknesses again in the full review, which make sure you go and check that out. Subscribe, $3 a month for just the YouTube so you get the full breakdowns. He's right here to the top versus one of the better receivers in the NFL currently, Nico Collins. We'll play it through. This is specifically his ability in press and to squeeze guys to the sideline is very good. So patience off the line. And we'll talk about it again in the full review. There is some times where he jump splits and he puts himself a little bit off balance. He does it a little bit here, but he still has a forward lean, so we're good. He stays nice and square to Nico Collins, who just uses a 2-step release. And it's actually called a 2-step release. I'm not just saying 2 steps in the release. It's a 2-step release. So 2-step release, gets vertical, shoots the near hand. You have Nico Collins who wipes it, or you have Brownley who pulls it away because you don't want to just leave it out there to dry because you're gonna be off balance. Replaces that near hand with his offhand jam, rides out the offhand, keeps it on the shoulder, gets over top of Nico Collins and completely squeezes that route to the sideline against, again, one of the better receivers in the NFL. So an excellent rep from him in press coverage, and again, squeezing to that sideline. Use that as your friend. Brownley on the bottom of the screen, pretty similar to the last rep where the receiver is now going to use a split step into a 2-step release. And he does a good job. One, like the stance, right? Nice knee bend, hands nice and on guard. Again, you don't want them low because they're not ready to punch. You want them nice and on guard. So good job there. Stay square off the snap, right? Eyes low on the hips. Hips don't lie, the head does. And sometimes he falls for the head. We'll get into that, but stays nice and square. Receiver opens up to the outside, stems it to the outside. He goes to shoot the right hand, but he doesn't want to start reaching for the right hand because if he reaches for the right hand, he's going to be off balance. So he goes to shoot it initially, but the receiver really bows this route out. So he pulls away the right hand, replaces it with the offhand, and then rides that offhand again to the sideline, completely squeezing that route on. I believe that's Marvin Mims, 19 for the Broncos. Again, can be wrong on some of those numbers, but an excellent press rep by him. The patience, the hand usage, the squeeze, looking back for the football there, all very good from Brownlee. Okay, an excellent rep from Brownlee and off coverage right here to the bottom of the screen. And he gets the pass deflection and a little bit of a limited sample size in terms of the pass deflections, in terms of like playing the ball in the air. But in the limited sample size, again, I watched 7 games of him. I want to get it out with at least good timing. A lot of, if you've been following me on Twitter this week, I put out plenty of work on Twitter and everything else this week. So 7 games is good enough sample size, but really good coverage and off coverage here. And watch the pass deflection. We'll talk about it a little bit. Good job angling the hips, anticipating the outside break because of the outside stem from Pierce, I believe is 14 on the Colts. But okay, so he comes off the line, or ball is snapped, nice and patient. outside stem from Pierce, so he starts to open up the hips at about 5 yards, because you don't want to stay square for too long, because if they're going to run by you vertically, you got to open up at a certain point. So as he gets to about 3 yards, he starts to open the hips up, but smartly outside, because the stem is outside, right? So typically where you stem is where you want to go. Anticipates the outside break, opens up that way. Receiver breaks on a speed out. He matches the speed out. And the thing I love about this play too, it's a little nuanced thing, is that you never see his eyes go back to the ball. Look at where his head is. And certain people, and a lot, actually not certain people, a lot of people say, oh, well, he has to look back to the ball. It's actually not always true. That's not a catch-all. You want to be on the receiver before you look back to the ball. You look back too early, you could lose the receiver, right? So he does hell of a job keeping his eyes on the receiver, tracking the upfield hip. As he starts to close ground, now he starts to get his head around, look back for the ball, plays to the receiver's hands, and gets the pass deflection on that receiver. And we'll see the other angle as well here with that pass deflection. But again, you want to play through those hands. Want to play through the hands, okay? Stabs through, and that's another thing too, is you don't want to swipe, because when you swipe, you're giving yourself a limited window to hit that ball, because, let's say the ball is here. If you're swiping it, there's only a window like when you're passing that ball right there is when you're going to hit it. So if you stab through, your arm is there for longer. So you want to stab, not swipe at balls. So hell of a job stabbing through the hands. Extension, getting that pass deflection on Pierce. It's really the best kind of rep you're going to see in off coverage. You really can't get much better than that from Brownley. So another excellent play by him. Okay, about midpoint of the video, I just want to remind people to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff helps us out. I know obviously Jets are losing and there's not as much interest, but for the people who are still watching and all that stuff, I definitely appreciated all the likes, comments, subscriptions, because it helps me out. Obviously makes it worth it. Jets X Factor, JoeRB31 on Twitter. I've been posting 1,000 plays a week there as well. So make sure to follow me, follow the other guys, Sabo, Nania, Rivka, Nick, everybody else. All right, this one's a quick one. You can obviously tell by the big red arrow where he is on this one, but he's pretty good at rerouting. Again, this was somewhat of a limited sample size with cover 2 reps and him being like the cloud guy, curl to flat. But when I did see him in the curl to flat and cover 2 zones, he was pretty good at rerouting. And we like that, 'cause that's what you're supposed to do, right? Make it easier on your deep safety. Either, if he bows it far outside, okay, get hands on, let the safety get an exit angle outside, or if he goes inside, then jam the crap out of him, make it easy for your safety again, who's behind you. So we have Waddle, who just dives inside quickly with the speed release. We have Brownlee, who's again not in man coverage. He's in that cover 2 zone. He's in that cloud, gets hands on, shoves him. Waddle loses his balance, falls to the turf, and then he's quickly back on his assignment to get to the outside. Yes, there's a completion there by Tyreek Hill. You're talking about 2 yards on 2nd and 7, or a yard on 2nd and 7. We're taking that every time. So hell of a job rerouting there, getting back to your assignment, getting to Tyreek Hill. And the thing is too, not being overzealous. He's a very aggressive player, but he's smart with breaking down. So taking more of like that outside in, he's playing a little bit high because he has pursuit from the inside with 56. So if anything, hey, cut back inside, go right into 56. Good job breaking down, squaring him up, and Tyreek Hill dips out of bounds because of how well he broke down there in space against him. All right, getting into the weaknesses of Brownlee. This is one of them again. The press can be a little bit volatile in terms of one good rep, one bad rep. Not just like that. It's not one good, one bad, good, bad, good, bad, but there is definitely some reps of bad as well. And I think he improved this a little bit in 2025 in terms of like staying square, not being as jumpy, but we're going to see him here. There's very large movements. Like you could shuffle to the inside if you're going to fall for a head fake here. But there's a large movement, and that large movement puts him out of position. The receiver again just uses a 2-step. He gets even, stabs to the inside, and Brownlee starts in a good position where he's nice and low. His hands are nice and low, but he does tend to fall for body movements and fakes to the inside, because if you look at the receiver's hips the entire time, where are the hips pointed? This is where you say the hips don't lie. And again, it's hard. It's all in very quick. It's all in a split second, but that's what corners look at. They look at the hips. The hips do not lie. The head does. So when he nods to the inside, you have Brownlee who jumps to the inside. He tries to throw that slingshot punch to get him back outside, but he's so far away that he misses. And then you have the receiver who gets vertical on him. Now, This is another good example of Brownlee and his makeup speed. You could just see how quick the acceleration, how much of an athlete he is, because even though he's beat initially, he catches up pretty damn quickly because he's just he's a supreme athlete. But initially, and people are like, oh, he covered him, it's fine. Again, the point is that he's jumping, he can put himself out of position. Okay, so there's times where I want to see him be more confident in his feet, smaller steps, not jump splitting, not getting the heel back on the weight back onto the heels. And he does a little bit right here where his weight drops back a little bit. Again, large step to the inside, falls for the fake. Again, jumps inside. Doesn't get targeted, but that's not the point. All right. Bottom of the screen again, another example of the jumpiness from him. Mark Cooper uses I believe it's a shuffle technique here. Yeah, shuffle technique to the inside, just lateral steps working to the inside, trying to get Brownlee to jump to the inside. Brownlee gets a shuffle in. He gets a shuffle in, but again, he tends to fall for like those jerky movements. And here again, I get opening up to the inside, but get shuffles and be confident in your athleticism. You don't need to get on your horse quickly versus Amari Cooper because he's not the best athlete in the world. If this was, at least at this point, obviously he's retired. I think he's retired now, but Tyreek Hill, okay, I understand being a little more jumpy, but again, he reacts to those movements. Large jump to the inside, gets beat to the outside here. Allen sees it, puts the ball directly on Cooper, and he gets beat for, whatever this is. Let's say 10 yards, about 20 yards, 23 yards or so. Again, large movements. And I would like to see him get more hands-on, quicker and soft. He's in soft shoe, but get hands-on eventually. Again, falls for that large movement. Do the hips lie? Where are the hips pointed? Outside. Okay. Falls for that movement, and he's beat for, like I said, about 23 yards or so. Next play, we got a fire zone three underneath, three high. He's in press cover three, and we're going to see him fall for a bam step on this one, which is just a step opposite of the break. You're going to nod that way. Elbow's going to tuck opposite, and you're going to break to the outside here for this receiver. He gets beat deep. I don't believe he's targeted on this one, but it's an example of him being a little bit jumpy at times for false steps and things. Or sorry, he is targeted. The ball is overthrown. And the safety, the deep third safety, middle third safety does a good job of finding this route. But in general, for a guy like Brownlee, you're in that three. He's going to help you in the middle of the field. If anything, again, you want to play this outside in and not let anybody beat you to your side because you have one guy deep here, deep third, outside third, inside, middle third, and then he has his outside third. So initially, he opens up. I'm fine with it. Again, it's his zone coverage. He doesn't have to get right on him. If he's in a knife it to the inside, then okay, pass it off to that middle third. But we're gonna see the bam step. Again, tuck the elbow opposite, nod to the inside, break to the outside on the corner route. We have Brownlee who falls for that hard and then gets out leverage to the outside. And let's say this safety didn't do as good of a job, getting that turn in, or the ball was on target from the quarterback, which again, good job reading the quarterback and then speed turning out of there by that safety. But he's beat here, right? If that safety wasn't there and the ball's on target, he's beat easily. Why? Because he tends to jump a little bit on these type of plays, double moves, bam step, rocker steps. He's a little bit overreactionary in these type of situations. All right, next play, holding, probably his biggest problem. Just sometimes it's just unnecessary. His hands go high and he tends to grab guys.
Work on in practice. It's a day-to-day thing. And like I said, man, even in the off season, still to this day, I still work on, top of the routes, getting my hands down, low on the hip and things like that.
When he's in a good spot, I get holding or not in a good spot, but he holds in good spots. So bottom of the screen, I believe last year, 9 was it Juju for the? Is he on the team? Is it not? It might be somebody else. Bottom of the screen. We see him do a good job initially, right? And again, I don't want the hands dropping. I don't want the jump split, right? So you're jumping into a split basically. The heels, the weight's on the heels, so we don't necessarily want that because it locks your hips and it makes you a little bit more stuck. Makes you it locks them. It makes it harder to get lateral. But even with that, gets lateral, gets hands on, does a good job, gets that right hand into the near shoulder, but then he gets extension into it. And now he's grabbing the shoulder. You don't have to do this. He's doing too much on that play, and he gets called for a hold. So unnecessary. You could get your hand into the rib, you can get your hand into the shoulder, you can get your hand into the hip, but don't start to extend and grab them because they're going to call it, especially in today's NFL. 10, 15 years ago, that's just excellent coverage. In today's NFL, you got to know when to let go, and there's no reason to grab his shoulder pad like that and rip it up. So, like I said, 3 penalties in week one. He's definitely a little bit of a penalty machine at times. We got to clean that up. But fifth round pick, last year, showing plenty of promise. Hopefully, it's something that Glenn can clean up. All right, now we have another example of him jump splitting and the hands dropping right here, top of the screen versus Nico Collins, and Nico Collins just gets even and releases to the inside, and he's beat here for big reception, 50, 60 yards, whatever exactly it ends up being. But off the line, you're going to see his hips lock a little bit. So all he does is get even. Again, it's not even the most threatening release. Just, be confident in your feet, run your feet a little bit, foot fire, whatever you got to do. He's a tendency to drop the hands and split. And now his hips are locked, right? When you split out like that, your feet are too wide. You're not going to be able to react laterally as well. Tries to get lateral, but his hips are locked. Hand gets defeated, which further locks the hips and makes it harder for you to get on that route. Nico Collins has underrated speed, gets vertical on him, and is able to bring in that deep ball. So again, it's one of his problems: hands dropping, feet splitting. Again, it felt like he did a little bit of a better job in a limited sample size in 2025 of that. All right, that is it for your short review of Brownley. Make sure if you want to get the full review to subscribe. $3 a month for just the YouTube. If you want the site with Nania's articles and Sabo and all that, it's $5 a month if you buy it for the entire year. $6 a month if you pay monthly. All the other great articles and all that other stuff. Joe RB31 on Twitter. Appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll see you next time.